Good morning. LJ back with some more of this, what I feel, leading edge stuff on anxiety. And the one thing I feel like I want to bring up today is, yes, we're talking about anxiety for people who it does feel like a disorder and it's really something that's like taking over our lives maybe, but also, and maybe we don't even know why sometimes, right? Maybe that's the worst anxiety, when we don't even know why we're having those feelings. So we're going after that with this series, but also because life includes anxiety, right? So it's something that we all have to deal with. So this is really something that I feel like we can benefit from. I feel like we're all dealing with anxiety probably more than ever. And the more that we can just, again, like I talked about yesterday, it's all energy. And just this idea that we can have an impact in how it goes. And it does have a lot to do with our perspectives, with our psychology about it, and then definitely practices. So yes, I just wanted to bring that up though, that life includes anxiety, right? So there's going to be times where we really want to know how to deal with our anxiety because it's happening because life is really hard right now, right? It may not be this ambivalent, we don't know why thing. So yeah, I think it's worth it for all of us to learn more how to deal with our anxiety so that we can read it for what it is, right? But also be able to move through it and still function and still even feel more towards how we want to feel, and not, most of all, not be afraid of our bodies, right? Or afraid of our anxiety, right? So yeah, that's really where this is coming from. So I hope it can be helpful, but I really want to honor that this is a true challenge for many, if not most people at some points, right? For real life reasons or for unknown reasons, it comes up. So this is for all of us, for when anxiety comes up, right? So I felt inspired today to get right into talking about one of the tools that, interestingly, I think we all know about, breath, right? And it feels like nowadays we've all probably even coached someone else to take a deep breath, right? It's like we all know that. We all learned that from somewhere, maybe from the yoga and meditation world. So yes, breath helps. But I've really realized through my learning and getting to teach a lot about breath that a lot of us have gotten breath wrong, I might say, because it turns out that the way that a lot of us are using this idea of take a deep breath when you feel anxious is actually turning out to make you feel more anxious, unfortunately. So it's working against us, this idea of take a deep breath, because I get the sense many of us are doing it, I almost want to say like half-assed, but it's more like halfway, in that we all seem to understand this idea. It makes sense, like take a deep breath in, like, oh yeah, I can try that. So we all, I think, will try that. But then I think where we're missing and actually leaving ourselves more anxious with, when we understand more the biology of the breath, that when we don't also give it a good, long, complete exhale, and actually it's the exhale that's the thing that relaxes us. So the inhale, awesome, refreshing, energizing, bringing in that fresh oxygen, yes, totally changing our physiology, right? Bringing in fresh energy, but it's actually the exhale that's the key. And I'm pretty sure I first learned this almost 20 years ago when I first went through my first year-long yoga teacher training with John Childers in Orange County, who's a total yoga master now, who still lives in Orange County. But this idea about the exhale, and I think I've probably said it every time now that I teach because it's so important. And so yeah, that's some of what I want to share with you, that yes, breath is an amazing tool for our anxiety, or any feelings really, to help us move through feelings, help us to have even more freedom to feel feelings, because we now know how to use the breath to move through those feelings and to even flow those feelings and even let go of those feelings, right? So anxiety is one of them. It's going to benefit a lot from breath. And I want to talk about why more and how, right? And it is, yes, some of it is that it changes our physiology. But if we don't do it in this complete fashion, and even more making it about the exhale, I feel we actually are making ourselves more anxious. So this, I think, is super important to get out, because also a lot of us are like even coaching our kids, right? When they're stressed, like, take a deep breath, buddy, right? But we might actually be making our kids more anxious, because the inhale is not the part to focus on, it turns out, even though the inhale is amazing. And then the good news about making it more about the exhale, and you might even try that now as you're watching this video if you want, just try to start to let your breath be a little bit more about a longer, slower exhale. And then as we start to get into, again, the fact that the exhale is what relaxes us. The exhale is what helps us let stuff go. The exhale is what's making room for that next new breath. So if we're only giving it a halfway exhale, we're actually getting left with too much carbon dioxide, not getting a complete experience of the breath. And that's why it actually creates more anxiety in the body when you take this big breath in and only give it a short exhale. A wimpy exhale, right? So some of what might be news to us as we start to try different things with the breath. And yes, the yogi's been doing things with the breath for ages, and there's probably, I like to say there's probably thousands of breath exercises out there. But just this, I feel, is so huge that yes, breath is awesome and the simplest ways we can use it. But first of all, taking a deep breath, yes, a great idea, but the exhale is the part that's so important. And so maybe that's news to you, and if I can pass that to you, I'm so stoked. So yeah, making it more about the exhale, because the exhale is what relaxes us, what decompresses us. You could see it as and say it as, and the exhale is what calms us down. So, and again, gives our body a more complete experience of breath, so that we're not actually creating that imbalance with just a big inhale and a short, wimpy, unconscious exhale, right? And that brings me to the next amazing, helpful part of breath, is that breath is also a form of meditation. And right away, by focusing on our breath, right, it's gonna grab our attention, which is helpful with things like anxiety, right? Because often things like anxiety, what we start to think about and pay attention to can make it worse, right? If we start to worry about the actual anxiety, right, for instance. So using something like breath, and yes, especially when you do it more full and complete and use that exhale, it is a way to kind of get your mind to shift, your focus, your attention, your awareness. It's a way to bring yourself more into the moment, which turns out is really centering and calming and where we feel better, because often that anxiety might even be because of what we're thinking about, or the fact that we're not in the moment, we're very much in the past or the future, right? So that breath is changing the physiology. It's bringing us into the moment. It's bringing us, our attention is giving us a chance to actually hone our attention, which is a lot of what yoga teaches us. So again, that's where I like to teach. Yoga's not the poses, my friends. I'm going to say that until I die. But the poses are a place to practice this, right? And the poses are also a place to practice the breath. And where I hear from a lot of people how they feel like they relearn to breathe with just some of the simplest ways we get to do it with these poses. But you can do it without being in a pose. You can do it sitting here, standing where you're at, wherever you're at, and it's meant to be a tool that we're using throughout our days, I believe. So yeah, and it's bringing that presence in, which is a huge tool for centering, calming, the opposites of anxiety, right? And it is going to help to kind of quiet the mind too, which is some of the therapy of a lot of these practices. Again, because often our anxiety might be exacerbated by what's happening in that mind, right? Maybe not so helpful. So just even any way that we can clear it or quiet it for a few seconds, which I'll probably make a whole day about quieting, because that's one of the tools for sure, and to building ways to do that. But just to decide to take a deep breath is going to do that for us, right? So it's going to change our physiology, especially when we do it more completely and more consciously, and make sure the exhale is actually the priority. See, I feel like I want to do it right there. And that's where it's cool, is the idea is you start to get more tuned in, so that you just know when it's time for a bigger, longer breath. And you might even make it more like a sigh, like a, I love to see that the sigh is like a human, natural thing we do to release anxiety and to relax. So if you find yourself doing I actually see now that's like a yogi thing to do, whether you're in a pose or in the moment, right? Because it's a way that we can release some tension, release some anxiety, and use that breath, adding sound to the breath, And sound is one of the tools that we're going to talk about from yoga and meditation that helps anxiety. So breath, yeah. Anything else I want to mention there? It's energy medicine too, for sure. So remember, if the anxiety is an energy thing, whether it's because you have stuck energy, too much energy, other people's energy, stored trauma, feelings you haven't let yourself feel, right? Whatever it is, the breath is going to help because it's fresh energy coming in. It's going to help clear up that stuck energy, help things get moving, help you let stuff go. And then the more you even believe that and picture that, it makes it work better. So now we have it, we call it in science the placebo effect. But the yogis have known for years, imagination's huge. So if we add imagining along with what that breath can do and see how it's clearing us out, helping us shift energetically, let stuff go, especially as we start to read that anxiety as energy, right? Or just reading it as a feeling and treating it as a feeling. And as we just learn to feel our feelings more and breathe through our feelings more, right? It helps us actually, I think, live more at ease because we're getting to feel all the feelings and flow all the feelings instead of stuff them down, right? Which is probably part of the anxiety for a lot of us. It's like stuffed down feelings too. So that's where we're also going to bring in tools like journaling and other things to help us get in touch with the feelings and why, we're feeling the anxiety if we don't know. And if we do know, help us even process it more and get more connected about the issue, whether, it may be something terrible that you're going through and you know exactly why you're feeling anxious, but you still know you want to help yourself feel better, right? So that you can function as well as you can within that hard thing, right? Right? So I can feel the feelings come up as I talk about this. So I'm using my breath to move through that, right? So again, that's why I'm talking about this, because I'm really feeling how much this is affecting so many of us. And I want us to feel like we have more of a power within it and that we can help ourselves through it. And we can teach our kids better actual ways that do work. We've got some steps, but we need a fuller picture. Our teens, our elders, whatever age we are, anxiety is a thing, right? And yes, so that's some of how I see breath helps. And also if you like to see it as spiritual, and then that's life force, God force that you're breathing in. That's part of how it could help too, right? Especially as you see it all about is like reconnecting. If that anxiety is also just about feeling disconnected in various ways, disconnected with yourself, disconnected with your body, disconnected from others, disconnected from your sense of spirit or God, often those may be some of the feelings or the things that bring up the anxiety feelings, right? So that's where things that we can do that reconnect us. So that's where we're going to keep seeing this. It's all about reconnecting us, right? And even spiritually, if we see it as that. So yeah, if you like to see the breath as like an agent of spirit or life force or God or Tao, that, yeah, sure. So when you're taking that breath in, that's another reason it's going to help you reconnect, right? And shift and even cure your anxiety, right? So I hope that's helpful with the breath. Yeah, and so I would just vote for trying out more use of slower, longer belly breath, a lot longer, slower exhales, inhales. If you're feeling like you're trying it as a breath exercise, always kind of nice to do it through the nose if your nose isn't stuffed or clogged or not feeling ready for that. And then you can always exhale out of your mouth or nose. And I'm going to be creating some more breath things to help. And let me know if you need more input. I don't mean to just leave you with a little bit on the breath today, but just a little more on how it helps. And if we are going to try the take a deep breath thing, make it more about that exhale. And then, yeah, get into really paying attention to all that it's doing for you. And know that it is a form of meditation. It's going to shift your mind, shift your focus, even quiet your mind, bring you into the moment, bring you into your body. It's a mindfulness practice, right? So yes, I think that's probably enough, but I hope that helps. And then, yeah, there's all sorts of ways we can do breath. That's going to like change our energy, all sorts of crazy things we can do. But even just that, I hope is helpful, especially if you've already been trying the take a deep breath thing. I hope this helps you maybe feel like you can do that better and actually feel better when you do try that with using the exhale and things like that, and just the awareness of all the ways that it's helping you, right? And the belief, again, that you can help yourself and kind of get on top of the momentum of it so you don't have to feel afraid of your anxiety, right? And yeah, that the more that you stay on top of it, the less dramatic it's going to get, I think, for sure, because it is energy. So the more that throughout the day we're taking care of it and soothing it and doing these little things, the less likely it's going to get to those extreme levels where we might, end up at the emergency room and things, which I'm sure feels so scary, where you just feel like, what the heck is going on with my body, right? So I really believe that those moments of the extreme scariness of the anxiety are a lot less likely to happen if we stay on top of it, right? And just learn little things like this, how to use our breath throughout the day and really get into how and why it's working right and how to use it right. So, yes, so that's today. Hope that helps you guys. And I've been putting all these on YouTube, so if you want to see the full series, I'll make sure that you can get that link too. And I'm going to keep going. I have a lot more to share about anxiety and how we can cure it in a sense, right? So again, from my heart to yours, hope this is helpful. Thanks so much, y'all. Namaste.